I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all the obstacles in my way. Thank you, Bob. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It's going to be a bright, bright, bright rest of my life.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome along to our first bonus session of the afternoon. And I thought I would share that because the purpose of today is many people have been asking, right, what do you guys do? And today we are going to let you know exactly what we do. And I thought, I seen Bob looking at me at the corner of my screen. I thought I'm going to click on that because that little reminder of Bob's life isn't just in memory of Bob, but the influence that he had on millions of people's lives, including some of the biggest influences this world has ever seen. There's people in there such as Earl Nightingale. There's people in there such as Les Brown. There's people in there, Tony Robbins. All these guys were influenced by Bob's teachings, by Bob's presence, and there's so many, many more. So the reason I kicked off with that there is my intuition said, let's do that because we are the lineage of the material that Bob Proctor has spent his entire life dedicating his life to, and we get to carry that on. So what we're going to discuss today is information, and Nikki talked about it this week, is information, knowledge, tools, strategies, etc., that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And if you want to live the best life, but don't need to reinvent the wheel, there's a blueprint for success that's already been written for us, and we just need to, I mean, Nikki talked about this, be really, really intelligent followers. So we're going to give you what we do today, and it's up to you whether you would like to be an intelligent follower like we are or not. Did you like that?
I loved that. I had no idea you were playing that. And so I really love, now I understand why. I think it's beautiful. So well done. That was really nice.
Yeah.
It is amazing, isn't it? To think back. I think the power of this work, when Jamie and I first met, I don't know, it's hard to remember what story that I've shared and not shared and in what capacity, in what room. But when we first met, we were both coaches, but I became a client of Jamie's because of the material that he was using. And I remember at the time I was creating my own group program. Now, creation is still something that's a huge part of who I am. But I remember being around this material and thinking exactly that, why am I creating something when this is amazing? And it's based on, as Jamie said, 60 years of a man's work. Why would I not start with that as my base and build from there? If you were going to go to study medicine, for example, you wouldn't go back to the 1900s and start there. You would start where the most up to date is. And Bob's material is centuries old, being brought through to modern day. And I'm so grateful for the lineage of the material. And obviously the deep connection that Jamie and I had over the material is what brought us together as business partners. So I'm delighted to pay that. I haven't seen that one. And I do what you do. So I love that whole, choosing to follow your intuition. When you see something, when you make a connection with somebody, I absolutely believe now that there are no such things as coincidences and that everything happens for a reason. And so follow your intuition. And that would be my invitation to you all.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So today's call is it's shorter than other ones. Well, that's the intention, whether it happens or not. So we do want to go into a little bit of detail to cover the framework that we have. We have got a framework that we have followed, working in partnership with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, but we have created our own framework where we take the people who have committed and trusted in us through a process that it means something different for every single person that engages in it, but everybody experiences one thing, and it's transformation. So you've all committed this week because there's something inside of you saying, I'm done. I want something else. I'm done with feeling in a particular way or thinking in a particular way or acting in a particular way. You're done with the results you've got, and you're saying, right, I need to find something to take things forward. So whether that's your health, whether that's your wealth, whether that's your happiness, the framework we have, we can guarantee you, if you follow this, it will change your life. So when we go through this, I want you to really listen. And I don't know, Nicky, whether we just go through one section at a time. I'll take a section, you take a section through the different 12 steps that you've put together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people are understanding that why we've done this week, why we've structured this week like this, because we've given you a lot bit of gold from what we teach, not at all, but you will see exactly what that is. So what do you think? How does that sound?
I think it's amazing, and I think you're right. It's like it can't be it all because it never ends, this journey, and the development, and every time you hear something, you it's like hearing it for the first time, and that's always our encouragement. And we're also very particular about who we want to come into the academy because you have to be prepared to be an intelligent follower. You have to you have to want change. You have to want to be open-minded to changing your own mind. As humans, we are so driven by confirmation bias. We want to prove ourselves right all the time. And what we invite you to do is go against the grain of what it is to be human and actually start proving yourself wrong. So there's not a lot of people that would want to come and do this work, and there's not a lot of people that we let in to our academy because we're very protective. We're all about energy. We're all about environment. And so you have to want to change, and you have to be willing to have your mind changed. And what we offer is, if you choose to invest in yourself because you know that you're ready for something more, and that, I love when you said that you're done, because that's it for me. I got to a stage in life where I was just done with living the way that I was living. And once you're there, and you are open-minded to life gets to be really different. And I am grateful for this work every single day. I don't allow myself to go back and to the way that I was before, because the mind wants more of what we give it. And so I choose my thoughts now. I'm really particular around the thoughts I allow myself to embrace and to embody and to feel. But if it wasn't for this material and for the work that I've been doing on myself for the last 15 years, I wouldn't be here. So it's life-changing. So yeah, do you want me to start, or do you want to start? You could choose.
It's up to you. Heads or tails? We'll go through
you start. I'm pouring my water because I know.
No worries.
Okay.
Right. So let us go through the 12 steps. Okay, we'll give you the 12-step process first, then we're going to let you know what we do on other days within our academy. Because everybody who comes into the academy goes through this 12-step process first. It's a framework that is logical, and it layers up in terms of exactly where you want to go. And you've experienced some of this so far this week. So step one is what we would refer to as a worthy ideal. And this is where we help you stop drifting, and you choose a goal that actually pulls you forward in life. Now, in terms of drifting is something Napoleon Hill talks about within his book, Think and Grow Rich. And within Think and Grow Rich, he refers to a number of different principles. But in another book he called Outwitting the Devil, he talks about drifting. And drifting is when you're not in charge of your thinking and you don't have a definite purpose in life. So most people set goals from what feels realistic or safe or acceptable. And what really should happen is that in the work that we've got, we begin to create goals that ask you to become someone new. And this is what this week's been all about. Now, you stop setting goals that keep you inside that same identity. Identity is a lot of the material that we work on, is helping shift that. So you start to choose a direction that gives you the energy somewhere to go. And you begin making decisions from your future instead of your fear. And we touched on that yesterday in regards to money, because if you think about how you choose each day, not just consciously, but subconsciously, then this is where you stop living from what feels realistic, and you start choosing the results that asks you to grow. So step number one is we don't just help you set a goal, we help you set a goal that's worthy of you. And that's why it's titled A Worthy Ideal.
Okay, amazing. So one of the key messages and the key themes that we approach all the time is what we call the knowing doing gap, which is you know what you want, you know what to do, you have the ideas, you have the strategy, you maybe listen to the podcast, you read the books. We get a lot of people that come into our community that they know this work. They're not new to personal development. They've maybe listened to podcasts, they've read certain types of books, but they're still not moving in their life, and that's because of the subconscious stuff. So that's the 93% of you that's running the show. So subconsciously, the feelings, the paradigms, we've spoken about this already, that are in your body that are creating whether or not you move towards something. So people will set goals and they think, well, I know this, but why am I not doing it? And that's why, because 93% of you that's running the show doesn't believe for whatever reason or has a different perspective. So what happens when you start to work through the known doing gap, when you start to understand that this is what's happening within your body, you stop kind of giving yourself a hard time. You stop saying, oh, I should have done that, or why am I being so daft? Most people will just give themselves a hard time because they're not doing the things that they know they can do, but they don't understand why they're not doing them. So when you understand why you're not doing the things, you then get that choice. It restores agency, where you then start to realise, and then you then start to take action. So this helps you to understand why the part of you that wants growth, but also the part of you that's not got the results that you're looking for, that part. That 93%, that's what that does.
So that part links to the next part, step number 3, which is really delving into what we call your infinite mind. Now, this is one of the parts within our framework when we start to see people shift and they start to understand that this does not need to be a complicated process. We sometimes think that change and transformation, all this stuff, is really, really complex. But what this step here talks about, your infinite mind, this really expands how you get to see yourself. Now, because most people are trying to solve their future from their current level of thinking. And Bob referred to that all the time. And what this particular part of our framework talks about is a lesson that begins to open the possibility that there is far more available to you than you've been using. And your infinite mind has got so much potential within it. So what you do is you stop identifying yourself from your current circumstances that are around you. And what you start to recognize that you've got this power within your mind that is the most powerful creative force that you have got. And you begin thinking beyond what your current environment is currently showing you. And this is where you really start to begin to see that your current results is just feedback. Your bank balance, your health, your happiness, relationships, all these things. And it's not your full capacity. Bob would always say that we have got deep, deep, deep reservoirs of potential buried deep within us. There's a wonderful quote we talk about at the beginning of our program. It talks about that God's gift to us is give us as much talent as ability that we have. But our gift to God is to use as much of that talent ability we have in this lifetime. And that's why, morbidly, I love to run through graveyards because it's the richest place on the planet. All that untapped potential that people take to their grave, all these dreams, all these fantasies, all the things that they would have loved to do, they could have, would have, should have. It's too late. So your infinite mind is giving you an understanding that you've got so much more power within you.
Love that. And then we build on that even more deeply when we start to talk about your higher faculties, when we start to use the mind to organize itself around the picture of what it is that you're saying that you want. And then you start to understand, start to learn, and you start to do, more importantly, giving your mind clear instruction as to how to move forward. So that non-doing gap, well, I want this, but I don't do it. That causes that chaos in the body. When you know how to work all this stuff, when we teach you how to use the mind, how to use the language, communication is a big part of what we do. We're always giving ourselves commands, and we teach you how to speak to yourself and give yourself clear, direct messages so that it's not mixed and it's not chaotic. And you start to create an alignment with that as opposed to the chaos that you've been living with up until now. So yeah,
and this is the from chaos to order. We talk about. There's a book by Genevieve Brand called Your Invisible Power that we absolutely love. This, I don't know if you love this, Nick, but this is one of my favourites. And in here it talks about chapter 1, the order of visualization. And it says in here that in other words, when you understand and grasp the power to visualize your heart's desire and hold it with your will, it attracts to you all the things requisite to the fulfillment of that picture by the harmonious vibrations of the law of attraction. You realize that since order is heaven's first law and visualization places things in their natural element, then it must be a heavenly thing to visualize. And that's what we're talking about there with the mental faculties. And the mental faculties in our mind, and our conscious mind in particular, the two ones we love to work on is imagination and will. And when you have a picture in your mind of what you actually want and you hold it with will on the screen of your mind, then the subconscious accepts that to be true. And then it starts to really align everything towards your actions, your words, your gestures, and attract the things you want to your life. So the secret genie we talk about gives our mind clear instructions, and you stop feeding it mixed messages once you've got that order, and you begin to use your imagination as a tool for creation rather than worry. And this is where you just stop thinking from a lack perspective, and you learn to stop rehearsing what you fear, and you start rehearsing what you're choosing every single day. And this is basically our curriculum. Our 12 steps come from this, which is amazing. And as Nicky's saying, in terms of the mental faculties, once you understand, everybody's got the mental faculties in the conscious mind. But the next step within the process is not just how to use these from a conscious and a subconscious and a body and the action results. It's actually understanding why sometimes our willpower fades. You learn that actually in the subconscious mind, you start to work with it instead of fighting against it. And you start creating change at a level that actually runs your behaviours. And that comes from one thing. And we title it Environment as Your Looking Glass. So as we said, if you look around you right now and look at everything that's happening about you, it's all down to how you see yourself. And this is huge for business owners and leaders and any individual, because your environment reflects your identity, it reflects your standards, it reflects the conversations you've got, it reflects the boundaries that you live your life in, but it also reflects your expectations. So you basically stop treating your results as random things that pop up. You begin reading your environment as feedback, saying, actually, what is going on here? And you learn what your current world is showing you about your inner assumptions about yourself. And it's the way you see yourself. Sandy Gallagher is one of our mentors, would always say, would you like you if you met you? No. Would you speak to other people the way you speak to yourself? Because your environment has shown you what has been normal to you, what you've accepted. And once you see it, you can change it. And with your self-image, you cannot outperform your self-image, but you can change it. And this, for me personally, this lesson in our framework changed my life. Once I understood that was my self-image that was limiting me from going forward. And listen, I'm still a work in progress. We're still a work in progress. It's absolutely one of the most sensitive yet transformational part of what we do. And I speak so passionately about this because it changed everything for me. And that's why environment is about your looking glass. Love it.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, identity is huge. Identity is threaded throughout everything that we do through all the 3 days, because once you realise that you're the person that wants more, once you've allowed yourself to be that person, you then get to create. And that's a bit for me that is very, very exciting. When you realise that there are no limitations and that your future is your future, you get to tap into who you used to be before the world taught you who to be, and let go of the many, many layers that you've taken on to fit in to all the different systems that you've been part of your whole life, and then reconnect with who you are deep inside, and then you build your world from that place. And it's an incredible process. And yeah, you'll realize already that doesn't happen in a week or a fortnight. This is ongoing. This is why our clients stay with us for years, because once you come into this world and you're building your life and you're creating your life, and you realize that it's a dance. Life is a dance, and you just get to keep going. It never ends. And Bob Proctor worked right up until the day he died, pretty much. And even when he was in the hospital, he was changing lives, So there's no such thing for me now. One of the things I was reflecting on this morning is there's really not a lot of difference for me now between what's work and what's play. It's like everything is fun. Everything is all my studying. It doesn't matter what day I do it on. It doesn't feel like it's a work day or a study day. If I want to sit for 2 or 3 hours this afternoon and do what I want to do, it's because I'm choosing to, because I love it, because I've got loads of ideas and I want to, do them. And equally, if I decide I want to go and walk up a hill, I'll go and do that. So it's stopping wearing the hats, I think, is where I want to take that, is when your identity is just who you are, and you're no longer got a work hat or a mum hat or a business partner hat, you just become you, then your life completely changes. So I love the identity bit. And then, of course, what comes from that is the fear. You've experienced that Wednesday, and I know that from the feedback that you've shared with us, and thank you for doing that, but I know that you really understand now why we get in our own way and how we get in our own way. And every level of growth comes with a different level of fear. It just keeps going. Every level of growth comes with new words. And again, I'm going to use Bob because he's popped into my mind when he was talking about launching a new program, and he'd have that, we all have those two voices in our mind. The one that says, oh my goodness, this could be amazing, this can change people's lives, versus, oh, do you really need to do this, Bob? Maybe you just want to start thinking about retirement. And it's like, well, why? So we all have the two voices. You get to notice them once you practice and practice and practice the noticing of the thoughts and becoming disassociated from them. Then you get to choose the thought you want to follow. And so, yeah, I do love that. But you always know that there is always going to be a part of you that doesn't want you to grow. And it's very human. And it's not about being weak. It's human. But how you learn to keep a distance from that and remember who you are inside and lead from that place, then that's what makes life really amazing. And that leads us quite nicely into what we call praxis, which is how do you actually integrate your beliefs with your behaviour. Beliefs are practiced. At the moment, you've got beliefs and they feel so real. And this is where I was saying earlier about being open-minded to changing your mind. Your beliefs are just thoughts that you've rehearsed till they've become so solid in your mind. And when you're open-minded to changing your beliefs and open-minded to thinking, well, what if? Well, what if I didn't think like that? What if I did something different? Then you start to create new beliefs, and therefore the behaviour has to change. Your behaviour at the moment is because of the beliefs that you hold, the paradigms that you see your world through. And when you come into the programme, that's what we undo. And it's not something that it's not dramatic. It's just one day you realise, wow, something else is happening. My life is changing, or you just realise that you feel different, or you've responded to something in a different way than you would normally, or you've said no where you would normally say yes, or you've let go of the drivers, the perfectionism, the hurry, the people please. And you'll just realise one day, and it's like, wow, this stuff really works. And then once you realise that, then it just escalates. You quantum leap to your next level. So, yeah, lots of great things.
So, and I suppose the next part of the framework is the final part where we'll look at the stick person, because this is all about understanding ourselves and our beliefs. So we're beliefs about how these mind works, the beliefs about fear, beliefs about praxis, or what like I say, the beliefs about that shape our behaviour. And the last bit is about attitude, and call it the magic word. And that's what came from Erin Nightingale's programme, Lead the Field, which we also covered with our clients who continue to stay with us. As Nikki said, they stay with us for years. But it's the magic word that we call attitude. And this is about the emotional state. It's about the energy that you take with us, almost that energetic stance that you bring to life, or you bring to your business, you bring to sales, you bring to leadership. Yesterday we talked about money, the kind of what's the energy you bring towards money, towards decision making. And once you understand how attitude drives your life, then you stop letting circumstances again control that state that you're in. And you learn how to use and choose your attitude on purpose, like every single day. I went up this morning, took the dog for a walk, went for a run, sat and just did nothing, just like sat and looked at the sky, just had a wonderful morning. And I chose to do that, you chose to live in that state on purpose. And then that way you'll learn to become more steady, more resourceful, more influential in terms of what you want to do with your life. And this is where you really, really, really stop letting any room that you're in take control. Stop letting the results take control, or even the reactions that we maybe have internally, because you get to decide on who it is that you want to become. And your attitude is the composite of your thoughts, of your feelings and your actions. And once you understand the attitude you give to life, then life is going to give you the attitude back exactly in terms of what you put out there. And that's all energy.
It's all energy. Everything is energy. Every single thing is energy. And your energy is cultivated by the language that you use, by your attitude to yourself, by how you treat yourself, by how you speak to yourself. Everything is energy. And when you realise that you are the most valuable person, when you realise that you get to invest time, money, effort on you to make you even more valuable, if that's the right way of putting it, then you become so boundaried, you become unstoppable. So the whole program is designed, and I'm quite sure you're getting this by now, it's about how you see yourself, and it's about no longer shrinking, no longer being small, staying small to fit in. I'm sure Cyril mentioned that amazing quote from, is it Marianne Williamson? It's in Coach Carter. That's how I remember it, because I love Coach Carter. But it is that bit about you just no longer play small. Playing small to fit in is again, it's a belonging, it's a tribal thing, it's part of who we are as humans. But nobody benefits from that part of you running the show. When you control that part of you and you let the you run the show instead, and you upgrade how you see yourself, how you speak to yourself, how much you value yourself, you begin to act from a completely different identity. And because you're growing, and energetically you're growing, and you're more open, you can hold more. And so this is where your image, once again, you become the person who creates that life that you say you want, that creates the business growth, that sells the paintings, that sells the music, that gets the promotion, that gets the partner, that whatever it is that you're looking for, it all starts with you realising that once you invest in you, you can do anything.
Yeah. So the last few lessons within our framework talks about how you then implement that. And probably it's more about working with people. So the first 3 components of the framework is about, right, let's think about you. What do you want, and what's stopping you there, and what do you do about it? And the next 6 is basically stripping back this secret genie and give you every single component, from your conscious mind to the subconscious mind, and then how you overcome fear, how you align your behaviours, and then what does that attitude look like. But the last 3 is where really the magic starts to happen. And this is a self-leadership framework we're giving you. And the 10th step is about you understanding who the most valuable person is. And some people don't like to be taught, because you are the most valuable person in your life. And this is absolutely about your self-image, but it's also about the person that you believe of yourself to determine what you allow, what you attempt, what you receive, and basically what you sustain in your life. And that's a self-leadership component. And we talk about being an intelligent follower, and we talk about being an effective leader. And this is where we see people upgrading the way they see themselves as leaders. Because of your actions inspire others to do more, to have more, to be more, to dream more, then by default you become a leader. And what you start to do is you stop shrinking your value to match that old evidence. We've been talking about the reticular activating system this week. If you believe you're not worthy enough, you're not good enough, and you're smaller, then basically this particular part of the program stops you doing that. You stop shrinking towards that, and you start begin acting from the identity of someone who can hold so much more. And this is where your self-image starts to catch up with your life and with your business that you say you truly, truly want. And I've been, watching people in their own business, and they once they realise that they've always been a leader, but their identity shifts towards that, everything changes. And leadership is one of the most underrated things in your life. It leads you, but it leads others. And if you really want to level up, it's not about coercing or manipulating people to come and buy into your vision. It's getting them to genuinely align with where you want to go. And if you can show other people how to achieve their goals, by default, you will achieve yours. That's how it works. The law of compensation. And then that leads on to the impression of increase. How good is the impression of increase?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love this bit the most. And obviously this is a cumulative process, and every level builds on the other. But the really powerful part about the self-leadership piece is when you understand how magnetic your energy is, you invite other people to rise their own standards. I talk about the ripple effect a lot. Because we're always rippling energy out into the world. And when you show up as a different version of you, as a person who values themselves, who has creative ideas, who's inspiring, you inspire others to rise to that version of themselves too. And it's all subconscious. Your energy is felt before you walk into a room. Your energy is felt before you speak. Your energy is felt just by being present. And it's all subconscious connection. And so when you value this, when you really get that and you understand that, you will start to magnetize on that level the people around you that are like that, and those that are around you, like your family benefit from this work. This is the most powerful for me, is seeing the impact this has had on my husband, my children, or anyone that's close to me. But in the business world, if you want to grow a business, then when you show up like this, people want to follow you. People want to be around people that make them feel safe, that make them feel seen, that hear them. And so this is how business goals are achieved. This is how leadership goals are achieved. This is how teams grow and thrive. But it all starts with self. But as soon as you become more magnetic, as soon as you increase that vibrational energy that you operate from, then your conversations will change. Your communication changes because you're so certain. There's no that lack of congruence between head and heart. And so people feel stronger just simply by being around you. And if you're in a job of leading, if you're in a job of selling, it just becomes very natural instead of the kind of forced energies that most people operate from.
Yeah. And essentially what our Brilliant Minds Academy is a mastermind.
Yeah.
And when you bring two minds together, it expands your thinking. And we've had so many different cases within our academy, but it's not been our material. It hasn't been me or Nikki. It's been the people within the academy. It's got them to think differently and act differently. And we've watched new businesses start. We've watched new relationships start in terms of working together. There's been so many things that have happened. And this is where the thinking expands again and again and again. It helps people just stop living in this small mental loops. And what we do is we start begin using our mind to hold these bigger goals, these bigger visions, making bigger decisions, bigger levels of responsibility. So one example of a young lad, Alex. Do you remember Alex, who was part of the program?
Oh, I loved him.
And Alex's energy was magnificent. So he was involved in a particular business, pest control, and he was busy. He worked long days, And there were a couple of examples. One day he spent a full day basically scraping birds' excrement off a roof. And then the business refused to pay him £3,000. And he said, "You're not getting it." And he's like, and so we had a chat. I says, "Listen, you've got to," and actually, I spent about an hour with him. I said, "You need to shift your energy towards this. Because yes, you want paid, but the person who's not giving you money, you need to forgive him." And he was like, "I'm not forget." And he was angry. He was resentful.
He's so funny.
And I said, "You need to forgive him." And so I sent him a Wayne Dyer clip about forgiveness. He watched that. And then he went, "Okay, I forgive him." Day after, the man pays him in full. He shifted his energy.
Everything is
all energy. And then in the programme, the week after, another client, Mary, was saying, "Oh, I'm so drained. I've got this tender to do. Don't have the time, don't have the knowledge. It's just sucking the life out of me." And Alex was going, "What did you say?" And he went, "Oh, this tender." He went, can I get a chat with you? Now, Alex's previous life was he used to write tenders for a company he worked with down south. He went, "I'll do it. Give us £150 and I'll do it for you." Boom. Alex's new business was born after that conversation. And he moved
I remember that.
He was maybe making $4 or $5 a month, max. Him and his wife now work in the business.
Yeah.
They're making high 5 figures every single month. They are working across the UK.
Yeah.
And in a network I'm called BNI. They are the only globally, out of 350,000 members, the only tender writing business in the whole of BNI. And their business is flying. His wife left the job because she was hating it within Social Security Scotland, and they are thriving now. And all because of somebody complaining about a process you had to go through within business. That's the power of community. That's the power of mastering the mind. And that's the power of getting around people to increase your capacity to think bigger, collapsing these old limitations we've got, and you start to bigger hold on a much larger vision without constantly negotiating it down and saying, "Well, can I do this? Should I do that?" Because the moment that your mind becomes big enough to hold the result you've been asking for, everything changes. And here's the thing, when you're in a room like this, you've got no idea what might happen to you, your business and your life. It's incredible. That's our framework. Yeah. That's what we do.
So that's I mean, it still blows my mind actually when we sit and we really break it down, but that's a very small part of it. So that's one part of it. And we call that our IQ part of it. And we also have EQ and FQ. And we've been seeding in this whole week the emotional part of it, the emotional mastery part of it, which is the Wednesday work we do, and the Friday work we do, which is always around your energy around money. And so when it comes to emotional intelligence and emotional mastery, there's a huge reason why I specialise in this work. This is personally for me is coaching. This is what I've specialised in for the last 7 years, because for me, the world is changing, and it's changing at a speed that we've never experienced before as humans. And there's a lot of evidence out there that people are not coping with this. And because the world is speeding up, because humans are becoming more impatient, we're demanding instant gratification, because the whole thing with Facebook is being designed to scroll, is to give you the dopamine hit with it. So the world is designed now to capture your attention and to hold your attention. And so more people are living disconnected from life, real life, and more connected to things that are, in their phones. And the instant gratification bit that comes with that means that we are more impatient and we're more reactive. And so the world is becoming slowly more cruel. And the emotional mastery piece that we're doing on Wednesdays is the 1% of the 1%. There's very few people in the world that teach this work. But it's about, for me, how do we make the world a kinder place? How do we teach you how to slow down? We teach you how to master your emotions without collapsing into them. We teach you how to be responsive instead of reactive. We teach you how to be kinder. A big part of my kind of coaching philosophy and my vision of the world is to create a kinder world, to create a world where we really pay attention to the beauty, because there's so much in the world that's beautiful. But it's also about how we look after, say, the animals. As people become disconnected from life, the first place where they start to be unkind and cruel is animals. It always starts on animals before it starts on people. And so for me, the emotional mastery piece is the bit that is just fundamental to everything that we do as humans, as people, but also when we teach you how to slow down, when we teach you how to manage your emotions, and when we teach you it, and when you understand how to do that, when you learn how to do that, it completely changes your thinking, which of course is the Monday work. And so most of the decisions that you make in life, if not all of the decisions you make in life, they're not logical, even though you think you're being logical, you think you're being sensible, you think you're being responsible. You're not. Everything is emotional. Everything that you do comes from the body. 93% of your decision making comes from the body, and only 7% comes from the thinking mind. And the thinking mind's job is to keep you safe. So you can understand, can't you, how powerful managing and mastering your emotions really is. So we start to go on a journey on Wednesdays where you really learn to understand what's happening inside you, where you regulate your responses, where you regulate your emotions, and you respond in a way that's more clear, that's more articulate. And these old patterns that have run your show for years, they simply get replaced by something that's much steadier, that's much more solid, more grounded, and therefore within your role, within your family, within your work, your business, whatever it is that you do, you make decisions from that place now instead of the way that you used to do, from the emotional reactions that used to guide your ways. So that's really crucial. And then the last piece that we do is the wealth mastery, the financial intelligence piece, where we work with wealth. We work with how the body is, whether the body's open to receiving or whether it's shutting it down. We touch on identity again, safety, what receiving means, the generational stuff, the 7 generations behind and the 7 generations in front, because everything that you're doing right now, wherever you are right now, is based on the 7 generations from behind you, and whatever it is that you're doing in your future is based on the 7, you will impact on the 7 generations in front of you. So that Friday piece is around capacity, building capacity to create, capacity to receive, capacity to hold, and capacity to expand. So you will understand your patterns around wealth and your decisions that used to be based on fear, and you will open your ability to move in the future from a place that's more about value, about what comes from the heart, about ethics, leadership, service, and creating impact. We're all about the ripple effect. We're all about the energy that we're putting into the world. And we want to work with you because you want to create difference in your world and create massive impact and ripple that energy into the world, because the world needs more kinder, more aligned, more aware, more wealthy, in all those terms, human beings. And that's our mission and our vision of our business. So lots in there, and we are excited to speak to you. I know we've had to reschedule a call, and I think we've got a couple of calls booked for today, but we've got some space, I believe, for tomorrow still. So book a call and let's explore what might be right for you, what your next steps might be. We don't know what it is, but what we know is we've given you a lot, and we know that you're realizing the power of this work already, and we can help you with what's next. You know, that's our journey. We let it all embed, let it all settle, and then all these ideas, and we know that there's changes happening already from some of your shares, and it's lovely to hear. So let's channel that and see where you go next.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably want to just recognise people who are watching back, following, showing up.
Yeah.
Also recognising and acknowledge yourself because you've done incredible, and we now know what the problem is. So we don't need to go and delve in that now. You all know what your problem is. We have the solution. And when you work with us, could you imagine where you're going to be by the end of this year if you're around this material and this community every single day for the rest of this year? Because this is what happens when you've got that team of people behind you. And the three parts there about the IQ, the EQ, and the FQ, we'll be honest, you're not going to find it anywhere else. We've got it all because we've been very curious individuals. We invest consistently in ourselves. Yes, for our life to expand, but more importantly, to allow you to expand. So we're inviting you to take that next step. Book a call with us, find out how we can help you be specific around your problem, because we've got one more day left to really help you. And you're not here because you need more information. You know that. You're here because something is now ready inside of you, ready to move. We know that. Just decide and be brave. And we're here for you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Amazing. I'm excited for tomorrow. I think I'll do a visualization tomorrow. I think that'd be a nice way to end.
That will be lovely.
Yeah. I wrote that down earlier when I was thinking. Popped into my mind.
Tomorrow is about
self-image.
Tomorrow is about identity, mistaken identity. And we'll tell you why that is the case.
Wonderful. Tomorrow's going to be good. Tomorrow's bonus. Tomorrow is probably our favourite lesson to teach. So super, super excited for that.
So I'm going to finish off again like we've been doing all week with the same video we started with. And I want to see how many people you recognise in this video, this montage to Bob. And we'll see you here tomorrow. 9:30 a.m. isn't it? 9:30?
9:30. Yeah, 9:30. Yeah. Perfect.
Final day.
Fabulous.
Okay.
See you then.
Ciao.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all the obstacles in my way. Thank you, Bob. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It's going to be a bright, bright, bright rest of my life.